with whatever you need.
When did this issue, or when did this problematic issue first come to your attention?
I think that the first time that that I began to focus on all of the language throughout the city in the charter, civil service rules, and then shortly thereafter, after the memorandum of understanding, was when an employee had some questions about activity that he or she wanted to partake in, and so at that point I began to take a pretty close look at it. Nothing ever came of that situation, nor am I aware of any situation where this language has ever even had to be utilized vis-a-vis an employee. But it was at that point that I started to take a closer look.
And do you know the approximate time frame, do you recall?
I would be guessing, but I would say 18 months to a year ago, maybe. A year to 18 months ago. Thereabouts.
Year and a half ago.
That would be a pretty wild guess.
So somewhere between January and June of 2009.
It would be in that time frame, I think.
Okay, because the political action item did come to the board to the Civil Service Board in July, and then was brought to the board's attention in August. So that January-June time frame sounds consistent with. And when you start looking into that, was this at your something that you initiated and did yourself, or was this something that had the approval of either the mayor or the city administrator?
Well, very rarely would I just undertake work on my own. I'm sure that the mayor and or city administrator were aware of my work. I do know that the Civil Service Board was meeting or had meetings, and from time to time I'll be asked to advise the Civil Service Board and or review materials and language that the Civil Service Board comes up with. So, I'm sure that that this was being undertaken, like many other things, for the city.
Okay. So you had direction or guidance from either the mayor or the city administrator, or both? I assume they were both in the loop.
Again, Alderman Miguel, I mean, you'd make a good cross-examiner, but I don't know. I don't know if I was given direction or guidance. I think they were aware of that I was looking into the language, because
Okay.
I had identified potential concerns. So I wasn't told what to conclude or how to conclude it or how to proceed. I just did my best in my judgment to make sure that we have the best possible language. And as Alderman Wallach pointed out, the charter is the starting point for everything, and it made sense for me to start with that. And if that was a bad idea, then the board will certainly disagree with these changes, and we'll move on. I mean, it's not,
Okay.
No one's going to lose sleep over it.
Well, it sounds like you're the individual that came up with has the problem with the language. But I trust you're aware that language has been in the Civil Service Rules since 1985.
Not sure that it has.
So for 25 years, we have had the language, and it has never been challenged until the past year and a half.
I'm not aware of it ever being challenged, and I'm certain that there are things in the code book that have been on the books for 50 years that are probably not lawful, but haven't been challenged.
Well, I'll point out that the Civil Service Board, and I see Ms. Duchild in the audience this evening, who's on that board, and I think you'll agree, did an extremely thorough job on reviewing the rules, and over the course of the year, over 20 meetings, sometimes meeting on a weekly basis. As I mentioned earlier, adding 3 words and deleting 3 words in 2 different paragraphs, and subject to your review, and everything was fine through 2007. Except that the fire department did not like paragraph 2 of the civil service rules, so they were dropped. And what we heard at the last meeting is that if we don't like the changes, if this board doesn't accept those changes, the local 2665 or 2655 will be happy to reopen discussions. So it seems to me that what we have here is an issue of the tail wagging the dog. And as far as I'm concerned, all this is doing nothing but opening Pandora's box. I think the city is making itself, I think there's what it comes down to is allowing employees to campaign for political causes.
Well, if we're opening Pandora's box by adhering to the charter, then we've got bigger issues. That is what I would say to you. Because the charter governs, and as I've said before, that there are many communities that have language similar to the language in our charter, and then have also provided additional guidance and policies to govern conduct. And at this point in time, there's really not an election coming up until next April. I don't think, if there's some idea here that there's some conspiracy to open up the opportunity for employees to go out and do things that they haven't heretofore been able to do, I can assure you, Alderman Miguel, that is not the case. Again, we're doing our best to clarify the language and clean it up. It's up to this board whether they want to change the civil service rules.
Is there conflicting language between the civil service rules and the charter? To me, the language is complementary. And the charter is the broad document, and what we do every time we pass an ordinance is generally make the language more restrictive. So it seems to me that what the civil service rules are doing are providing the guidance that you've noticed, that that you're suggesting. So, as I believe Alderman Wallach alluded to me, allowing employees to campaign for political causes or elected officials is opening the doors to liabilities and potential lawsuits further down the line. And to me, that's opening Pandora's box. Thank you.
Under the charter, Alderman Miguel, they can't do that. Okay? They can't take part in the political campaign of any candidate for Crestwood City office. They can't take part.
What about political activities? What about tax issues?
Tax issues may be different.
Exactly. Thank you.
Are you finished?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's see, no lights.